Okay, well, sweet. Well, dude, good to see you, my man.
Dude, it's good to see you too. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a pretty long time. Honestly, I feel like the last time I saw you in person was when you trekked all the way up here to hang out and get burgers with us down at Loretta's
Dude,
Northwestern
that's what
there.
it was. Dude, it was so good to see you and Waldo and Ferg again. It's been a long time. Also, that
That's
spot,
good, man. No, we it
underrated
was great
spot.
to see. Oh, dude, it's such an underrated spot, and honestly, like it's super fun just to like every once in a while get the guys together because we see each other so little, and I mean, shit, it's been over 10 years, man, since I first met you.
Yeah.
And over that fucking 10-year period, I don't think there's ever come a moment where we've all been in the same room again.
No, I don't. I mean, it's always been like, there's whatever, 6 or 7 people, and it's always like two or three at a time, two or three here. Like you see people in passing, but never having everyone, especially for like 16 weeks together again.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Well, dude, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, and let me just introduce you to everybody. This is Gunnar Seefeld. This is a homie of mine that we met, like I said, about 10 years ago. We both came in to the fire service together, different organizations, but from that time, kind of hit it off. And I think in so many ways, despite the age gap, really found in so many senses just like a kindred like spirit. Just felt like family to me. Such a good dude, thoughtful human being, very much a wild motherfucker who just always is coming up with something crazy to do, which I deeply respect and love. And so hopefully we'll get to talk about some of that today, but also too just a person who I think just operates from such a genuine place, and I think it's always good to meet a genuine human being who's just trying to be themselves, trying to be kind to other folks, and always down for a fucking laugh and a good time. And so, but I also think too, like sneakily wise, curious in the right way, and also I think really does a great job of living a life. And so, yeah, dude, I just wanted to have you on to bullshit for a little bit, catch up with you, see how things are going, and kind of check in with where your head's at now because it's been a long time since we've had one of these chats. You came on my old podcast a long time
Yeah.
ago just to bullshit. I had a ball.
Yeah,
I
me
still
too.
have it. It's a great one. But yeah, man. So tell me first off now, like where you're living right now, and kind of like what life is like for you at this current moment.
So I'm living in Boise, which I moved here 5 years ago, just a little under 5 years ago. Started at the fire service there and worked for North Shore Fire, which is now Shoreline Fire. And then I left Seattle just because the weather was depressing and I couldn't afford to buy a house. And I was like, man, I would love to, be somewhere else and see some other stuff. Um, so I had moved to Boise and I lateraled to Nampa Fire here and worked for Nampa Fire for about 2 years. And then, and this probably goes into the curiosity nature, I kind of was like, man, really wonder what else is out there. Like, I love firefighting. I've always enjoyed firefighting, but I'm always curious, like, no, what else is out there? What is it? What are these other things look like? So I left the fire service and actually, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I kind of left with no plan, which looking back, hindsight would have been better to maybe make a plan then leave. Uh, but yeah, I left and I was like, all right, well, I'll start in recruiting. Both my parents were recruiters. So I was like, I'll give recruiting a shot.
Oh no,
Not
shit! I
for
didn't know
me.
that.
Yeah, I went into recruiting for like 3 months, maybe. It was not my cup of tea. I mean,
You
I met
almost
some great
died, huh?
people. Dude,
You
it just was like
almost
sitting there
died.
in like a corporate world, like calling people. And I was like, oh my gosh, like people do this all the time, like 30 years. And I was like, all right, so I branched off of that and ended up in medical device sales I started in total shoulders and then switched into foot and ankle. So I was doing medical device sales, like calling on doctors in like doctors' offices, but then covering cases in the OR doing like soft tissue repair, hardware, like plates and screws, joint fusions, total ankles. So I did that for a while, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the guy I worked with, Ryan. He's super good dude. He's still doing it. He's someone who I've met who's become like a really good friend and someone I really respect. But I worked with him for a while, and then I just decided I was like, man, I don't know that sales is for me. I've had a lot of job switching here since leaving firefighting. Firefighting was like pretty steady for a long time, and then I got out of it and have switched a lot. But I'd always been interested in going the flight route, so I did firefighting, did wildland firefighting in college for a summer, do skydiving recreationally. So I was always like pretty interested in the flight route and planes. And so I decided, I was like, while I was doing medical device sales, I was like, I think I'm going to start getting my pilot's license. Like I kind of thought about that route it's a long route to get from like hour one to the airlines. It's like 4 to 5 years and 1,500 hours of flying. And that's if you get hired at your minimum. So I started working on my private pilot license while I was doing medical device sales. And then I realized that I need to put more time into the pilot thing if I want to be successful with that. So I quit medical device sales and now I'm doing flight school almost full time. And I'm bartending on the side at a country club. So
Hell yeah, bro.
yeah, so I'm just working on right now. I'm just everything is into getting my. I have my private pilot license, and I'm working on just finishing up an instrument rating, and then I got to get a commercial license and multi-engine rating and a certified flight instructor, and find a job flying and see where life takes me.
Yeah, man. I will say, like, that's one of the things about you that I think is so fascinating and such a good trait too. Like, uh, it's a hard thing, I think, in the modern era, and it probably always has been for people to like do something, put their effort in one direction, and then kind of be like, yeah, man, this is what I'm gonna do. This is who I'm gonna be. And then you get down the road a piece and you're like, man, bro, I don't know if this shit fits me anymore. I gotta
Yeah,
fucking make a change. And then
yeah,
just the challenge that is both from like logistics standpoint, a financial standpoint, even like the community you have, the expectations of the people around you. And I mean, like, I love the fire service. I still work in it, but I recognize that, like, yeah, in that vein, there's some people who can be quite particular about, like, oh, if you leave early. But I think in my life and in my mind, I've always felt like, man, I so hope people pick the things that actually feel like they kind of light them on fire. Like, what is actually going to make your life fulfilling? And you've been really good about doing that. I think it's a very, it's gone really really well, which makes me super happy for you. But also too, just that like it's great that what you didn't do is stay somewhere, and maybe more importantly, where you just were like, bro, this shit is not aligned with me. There's no
yeah,
way this is my best life. This shit is not fun. I'm not like growing, learning the part of myself that I feel like I need to, you know, feel connected in. I got to do something different. So I remember when you moved to Boise, and part of it was like you said, I think you were done here because I remember we talked a little bit. And you're like, dude, maybe I'll fucking bounce down to LA and do it down there or whatever. And you like took some tests or
I
whatever.
tested with Long Beach.
Yeah, dude. Which makes
Yeah,
sense. I mean, that would be sick to be in the sun and on the beach. Um, but the other thing was too is that somewhere in there, and I don't know exactly how these things line up. So you got to clarify it for me because when I met you, dude, you were just like just a young bull on the yard, dude. The ladies were a big fan of you, and you were just out there just trying to fucking, you're just eking through life. But then I remember you came back. I don't know if you went home or you were on a trip or something, but that's where your current, like your wife and you, because you guys knew each other, but it was like you came back from that and I saw you and I was like, oh, dude, how was the trip? How was it going back home? Dude, wide eyed, homie, you looked at me and you're like, no, I met the girl I'm going to marry. Like, it's a wrap, dude. It's buttoned up.
yeah.
You were so
We
certain. How did that all happen?
Yeah, it was one of those ones where like as soon as we started dating, I was like, yeah, that's. I mean, obviously, so in the time she was in school in Pullman, I was working in Seattle. Graduated from undergrad, went straight to grad school for PT for physical therapy school in Arizona. So it was Pullman to Seattle. Then I was in Seattle and she was in Arizona. Then she was in Arizona and I moved to Boise. Then I was in Boise and she moved to Colorado for one of her rotations. And then her last rotation she finished in Boise and then we both ended up here.
Oh, it's dope, dude. It's kind of crazy. It reminds me, like, I know you've seen Goodwill Hunting. And you know that like scene, I always love that scene where like Robin Williams is talking to Matt Damon and he's like, and he's like, well, you had tickets to that World Series game? And he goes, yeah, bro, but I never went. And he's like, why? He's like, I had to go see about a girl. I always feel like a little bit of your love story is kind of that story a little bit like, oh man, you gonna stay doing this? Nah, man, I gotta go, dog. I gotta go see about, which is so dope because I think, and you have to tell me, but I feel like because you've been married now, how long?
A little over 2 years. We got married in August of
Okay.
23. So
Okay. But I mean, I'm assuming, but like for you, all these transitions and all these decisions to keep kind of chasing the thing that felt the most authentic for you, I'm assuming that married life and making these choices were the best thing you could have done.
I think, I mean, in the time, like with Lex, absolutely. Like, of course, all the moving and like the job switching, the moving, yeah, I feel like I really enjoyed being in Boise. I it was the one thing that was hard was leaving like the community and people in Seattle. Like, I don't miss the weather. I do miss like some of the city and like the food and the culture, but I don't miss like the weather. The weather is a little depressing. I mean, it's a foggy day here, so not like I got away from that. Uh,
It's a sunny
but
day here.
dude, can't beat a sunny day in Seattle, man.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I do think that like the funny thing is like the job switching. I'm glad I have because I do like the only one that I really feel like I'm like, oh, I still feel connected to that is firefighting because I that was such a job that I like enjoyed and enjoy the people and like felt a meaning with the work. But yeah, I just it's funny like I've kind of shot myself in the foot a lot of times. Like you said, like you start over and you do something different, and I don't look at it as necessarily like I'm glad for most of those things that I haven't stayed with them and I've like audible to do something different because I do feel like it's been meaningful things and like finding something like you said that like lights you on fire. It is funny. I look at friends like to that have stayed in something long term and like that's the way to do well in something typically is you stay in it long term and you put the time and the time, like you get what you put in. So I know for it's funny like when you look at like financial hardships of it and the logistical hardships and then I'm like wow, I'm 31 and restarting a new job or going to school like it's funny it's all self-inflicted but at the same time it's nothing that I regret. Like I don't look at it and go man, I shouldn't have done that. I'm like well, if anything, I learned something from it, and I'm doing something that I love, like flying planes. I mean, not to sound like the public transportation kid, but it's like flying planes, dude. Like I love doing it. It is so much fun.
I fucking love that. I mean, I think it, but it's the point is though, like this is, I guess, is the argument I would make, which is like, you know, if you didn't love what you were doing and you did it merely because it was the quote unquote wise thing, the issue is that you'll just get to the end of your life having been wise, but not really having been connected or in love with the one life you have.
That's like something I'm so passionate about. Of like I I know there's like you get ahead by doing these things. Like it's not hard to get ahead in life in terms of like if you stay with something consistently, you put effort into it, like whether you like it or not, like you can grind and do that. But I'm like such a believer, and I mean you've talked about this a little bit, but like such a believer and a fan of like I don't want to like live life just to get ahead in life. Like there's so much to get out of life and people to meet and things to see and like experience and stuff like that. I think if I go through life being like, oh, what's just going to get me ahead the fastest, like that's a life missed out on. And I do feel like it's funny talking about from when I got hired to now because I was when I was 22 and I'm now 31. Like I do feel like there's been such a perspective shift on like the things that are important and like it's stuff that I didn't realize at the time, but now I look at that and I'm like, God forbid that I live a life that I'm not like proud of and don't feel like is fulfilled. Like I don't ever want to live a life where I'm like, I feel like I'm just riding through at 80%, like that would be I would rather like end up, broke at the end, just skidding by, like skidding across the finish line than ever to live a life being like, man, I didn't make the most of the time I had.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're such a great case of that because it does, no matter how you cut it, it does require, and I mean, maybe you can speak to that a bit more, is like, it just takes some courage because like it's tough to give up the safety or predictability or even the like social or like peer reviewed reality on your life of like, oh yeah, this person's doing their 401k matching and they're blah blah got in here at this point and they'll accrue this many years on their pension or their retirement, or they purchased a home at this particular age, which means the market over all these years, like it starts to reduce life down, I tend to find, to a set of numbers, which, while important, are certainly not the full scope of what makes life, at least for me, meaningful. And so I think it's
Yeah.
just a good, I think you're a good case of a person who's been able to like look out and go, man, I really love this, or I've been grateful for this opportunity and the people in these areas. But, as Shakespeare says, like, to thine own self be true. Like, at some level, if I'm being true to myself, this isn't the best life that I could obtain. And not in terms of the people or the experiences, but there are more experiences that I would like to try to aggregate in my one life. Um, so just so people have like a little bit of a reference here, like let's just walk through some of the gnarly shit you've been up to. Cause all I fucking really just keep up with you on your stories or like Instagram, and it'll be like, oh, dude, just did this crazy race thing. And then like, oh, skydived out here. And then blah, blah, we're traveling in this area, whatever. Like, what's been like the last, I guess, I don't know when that timeline is. Like, when do you think you really started taking off with, I wouldn't say like necessarily like an extreme sports lifestyle, but I'd say like, when did you start really investing or pursuing kind of like these vibrant experiences, these challenges, these like, things that you have in your life outside of your job and your relationship. I just noticed you do a lot of other things too. Like, where did that come from? What stirs that up? When did that all start? And like, what do you love about it? What have you been up to doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is obviously something I could talk about for a while. It's funny as a kid, so as a kid, like if I went to like amusement parks or like inner tubing, I was a kid that was like, we went to Disneyland, and my sister and my dad were always the ones that were like, hey, we're gonna go ride like the roller coaster, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do Thunder Mountain. I was like, oh, I want to ride the Dumbo ride. I was like too scared, which was hilarious now, like knowing how I ended up now, like that's what I was at the time, that I was like scared of all that. I think like if I had to like pinpoint a time, I think that it in college I took I think it was HD 201, and they talked about like living life in a comfort zone and whatever your experiences of like in this comfort zone, and like basically like a green center where you're like in your comfort zone, like a yellow target on the outside of that, which is like your growth zone where it's like uncomfortable but not like panic, and then the red being like this is totally uncomfortable, I'm like full panic mode. And I think that I like got, I don't know, for whatever reason, I felt like I really connected with that class a lot in terms of I was like, I really want to live like a life out of the comfort zone. Like I don't ever want to sit and like live in that comfort zone. And then um yeah, I think it was that year a buddy of mine in college went he did like skydiving stuff on his own, and so he had always, he was always trying to get people to go with him. And like most people would be like, oh, yeah, I'll go. Or they'll like, it's drunk on a Friday night. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'd be down. And then Saturday morning rolls around and everyone's like, no, I'm not going skydiving. And so I ended up going skydiving with him and went through with that. And then later in college, we all went to a wedding in, like over by Vancouver. And in Amboy is like this little tiny town in Washington, like right on the border of Washington and Oregon, and it's the only place in Washington you go skydive or bungee jumping from a bridge. And I was like, "Well, we're close to it. We should do it." And everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm down." And then we were all sitting at breakfast the morning after the wedding, and I was like, "All right, well, who wants to go? Like, we're here. It's like 20 minutes away." And everyone was like, "Yeah, I'm not going bungee jumping." So I was like, "All right." So I went and I did it alone, which I was super glad I did. And just stuff like that, like those kind of experiences where I was like, wow, this is fun. Like I enjoy doing this, which turned then into traveling. When I went and when I was working at North Shore, I went to Australia and New Zealand for like 3 weeks at one point. I had a buddy who was he was doing an au pair thing over for a family in Australia, and he was like, "Yeah, if you ever want to come over and visit, like, let me know." So I planned a trip over to Australia. So I flew over alone and then ended up visiting him. And we went over to New Zealand, and we actually went bungee jumping in New Zealand. And then from there, oh, and yeah, in college, I rode a bull in a rodeo. That was another one where I was like, oh, you can sign up for this and they'll let anybody do it. Sure. Might as well
I
try.
love it. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that was where it all started, and then from there, yeah, it's turned into like I got my license skydiving, so I do that like recreationally. Uh, Most of the time, I mean, obviously in the summer when it's nicer and stuff like that. But we Lex has the same like passion for travel that I do, which is fun to then travel together. And our goal has been, we don't have kids, so before we basically were like, before we have kids, we should try to go to a new country every year. So let's go somewhere new. So we went the first year we went over to Belize. We flew to Belize and then we rented a car in Belize and drove to Guatemala. Don't know that I would necessarily recommend renting a car in a different country and driving to another country that you're not from, that you don't like speak fluently in their language.
Yeah.
We went there. We drove to Mexico a couple times from when she was in school in Arizona. I drove down to Mexico,
Sure, sure.
across the border there, which wasn't as bad, but we ended up getting pulled over by the cops in Mexico, which was a little bit of an adventure. Um, we went to Belize and Guatemala. Then last year we went, or I guess 2 years ago now, we went to Italy, and then
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
November,
yeah.
so a couple months ago, we went to Thailand and like bebopped
Yeah.
around Thailand for 2 weeks. So it's been fun. I mean, it's just one of those ones where it's like, if we don't have kids and there's so much to explore and do and see, like, let's do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it. I think it's just one of those things too that it's kind of spectral. How like you talked about those circles of like what you can tolerate, the panic, the discomfort, the comfort, discomfort, and panic, right? I guess if that's simplifying
Yeah.
maybe, but just that I think sometimes those circles are just different sizes for people. But it's what's really cool, and I think that's like one of the things that you highlighted is like I think it's always been within you to be a person who is curious and maybe more open to novel experiences, whether that's food or travel, cultures, even physical experiences. Because recently, you like this morning, you're like, I got to run, blah, blah. But I feel like I've seen you do some like also like some triathlon stuff, some ultra stuff. Are you just turning into like that young bro who's just like, are you a hybrid athlete now? Is that like the thing?
Oh, dude, that's like such a thing right now. No,
Yeah. Are
I
you
think I'm
about to be
just
a high
dumb.
rocks
Is more
guy?
the dude. Oh, I prided myself on not signing up for High Rocks because I'm like, I can't go down that road. Like, I don't want to. One and two, it's like that's going to be too much time. And then I'm like, well, now I feel like I can't. So I started like I liked biking before, and then when I was working in medical device sales, one of the surgeons that I was working with, his name is Dr. Hiroshi. He's a big biker, road biker, gravel biker, mountain biker, and I had a mountain bike and a gravel bike and like enjoyed biking like for fun. And he was like, "Hey, we do this race every year. We sign up for it. It's in Sun Valley, Idaho. And it's this gravel race. He's like, you should do it with us." And I was like, oh, not knowing anything about the race. And I go, yeah, it sounds like fun. I love riding bikes. Like, I'll do it. Come to find out, it's a 100-mile gravel race. So it's not like it's
No
like
shit.
we're going out to just like, yeah. So I signed up for that the first year and I did it and I finished it and was like, wow, that was awful. I mean, it was fun. It was really pretty, but I was like, wow, that was awful. I'm not going to do that again. And then proceeded the next year, which was this last summer, to sign up for 200-mile gravel races. So I did the same one again. And then I also did another one in Lake Tahoe. And then I
Oh,
did
brilliant.
an Olympic triathlon in Boise. And then a couple buddies, one of my buddies here, Max, and then a buddy from back home who lives in San Francisco now, but he's from Spokane. There was a this last year was the first year in like 10 years that Ironman had come back to Boise,
Mm.
and there was a Ironman 70.3, so a half Ironman here, and they were like, "Dude, you want to sign up? You want to do it?" And I was like, "All right, sure." So I did the 70.3 this last year, which was fun. All of this stuff, it's funny. It's like once again, it's all apparently this is a theme for me, but like self-inflicted, like type 2 fun, where it's like you're doing
Yep.
it and you're like, this sucks. But I
Yep.
don't know, there's also something to me, like the mental aspect of like how hard can you push yourself is weirdly fun. And it's funny, Lex like laughs at me. She's like, you do these things that you're like miserable when you do them, but then you continue to sign up for them. And yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't.
There's a.
So I don't know what that is, but I enjoy it apparently. You know Jaden Petro over there?
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gotten really into ultra running. He runs like 50, 100-mile races and stuff like that. And I've
Yes.
never the furthest I've ever ran is a half. And I've never been like into ultra running. Not really my thing. But he's got really big into it. And then he was like, "Hey, there's this race in Winthrop, Washington in May. You want to sign up for it and do it? Like we should meet there and sign up for it." And I mean, it's really easy to say no, but apparently I just don't know how. And so I was like, sure, man, I'll do it. Comes out, yeah. So come
Oh,
to
that's
find out, that's
awesome.
at 50K. So now I agreed to that. I haven't signed up for it, so I'm not into that one yet, but I agreed to that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what, yeah, this morning I went out. Actually, I went out for a run, and I was going out for a run with my buddy Max here, and we were just going to go for a run on the green. It's like a trail along the river in Boise. And then we got into it, and he was like, I feel pretty good. Like, do you want to run further? And I was like, sure, why not? Whatever. I feel fine. We're already here. Like the hardest part was waking up and getting out here and starting to run. So, anyways, one thing led to another. We ended up running a half marathon. So that's why I was late.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think it's true, like that type two fun, but I think it's also just maybe just a unique personality trait too. Like some people get a big reward from, like you said, pushing themselves. I have that in different ways. But I think in the same way, like I love I've not, I mean, I ran a half last year on Woodby. It was a blast. It's gorgeous. First one I've ever done. Had a ton of fun doing it. And, we cooked and
Yeah.
just like, is gorgeous. You know what I mean? I just like I don't really mind running. Running's easy for comes easy. So I'm always like, oh, I'm down to run. Um, and it's also just such a nice experience to kind of be alone in your mind. And I notice that like when you're running, there's this kind of mental isolation where no one's bugging you, no one's talking to you, and you have this prolonged period of like mental focus. And because you're not working on a task and you're not facing the pressures of like, oh, jobs, bills, food, blah, blah, what the kid needs, my friends. Yeah, you're just kind of for this little window, you're just isolating your mind. It is a very also too like a soothing thing, oddly. Even if your lungs are burning and your legs hurt, it's weird how it allows you to kind of in some ways really be in yourself for a minute. And at least that's like one of the joys I get from it. But I resonate with that. I just think I wouldn't sign up.
Yeah.
I would not get accidentally duped into a fucking 100-mile bike ride. The first question I would have asked
Yeah.
was, how fucking far are we going, dog?
How
And
far?
someone's like, oh, it's 100. I'm like, oh, no, bro. I'll meet you halfway, bro. I'll start halfway. But
Yeah. That's the smart thing. That would be definitely the smart answer. But I don't know. I think that there's like also, I think that something to do with these things is that when I feel the best is being like outside, being active, and in a time where like you already sit in front of a screen or are connected to a screen with your phone like more than ever. I'm
yeah,
like, if I can spend my time outside and active, and then also I'm like paying to sign up for all these races, but I'm like, you know what? If that's what I'm putting my money to, I would rather put my money to like paying to sign up for races and doing that kind of stuff than like going to a bar.
right, 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 right. No, that makes a ton of sense. And honestly, like it's also just such a thing that has gives you a sense of completion and achievement. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
went, you did something. Usually I would imagine most of the time you probably have to train for them. And that
Yep.
sense of like, oh dude, I put all this effort in, I thought through it, whatever. I think there's a lot there that's so helpful and cool to just get that experience, like you said, because it's like it's so fun to be with the homies and like be out grabbing a drink, cracking a joke, watching a game, playing golf. Like I love all the shit I get to do with my friends. I always feel fortunate about it. But it's also cool to like go out with your friends and be like, dude, let's just fucking do something like you said, type two. It's like a little bit rough. Like let's go hit this like 4 or 5 mile hike with,
Yeah.
a 80% grade or some shit. And so it's like it's weird how when you just also put other people and yourself in different environments, you get different payoffs. There's just different things to be learned and to be enjoyed about being in different environments. And so, yeah, it's like you said, instead of just like another night, whatever, doing the same old thing, it's like let's just put some on the counter. I think it makes life go by slower. And I think it just creates these memories that really stick with you, especially the people who suffer with you. Like, this doing our fucking old job, bro. Like, shared suffering is a weird way to bond. It
Yeah.
sticks you together in a strange way that's really lovely. And so, like, if you could do it, yeah. I don't know that everybody's going to sign up for that length of a
That's
races, but that's also what's so impressive about you is I'm like, that's fucking gnarly, dog. Like, I definitely revere that level of focus and ability to just like sit in the suffering of it. And also I kind of revere the ability to like take joy in that. It's not every person who could do it, you know?
it's definitely not always joy too. Like there are a lot of times where there is, but there's definitely a lot of like the suffering times where you're like, how the fuck did we get out here? Like this is stupid. And the thing is like either one, we paid to be here, or two, like we all voluntarily got up and chose to do this together. Which I think like you said, it's like that does bring people together, which I think is maybe how like a lot of us in our academy class, like our original academy class getting hired became so close where it was like you're going through the grind every day and you're like, man, this shit sucks for 4 months or 3 months or whatever. But it's like, it does bring you together in a cool way where you look back at that. And I think that there's like, I always enjoy like challenging like, I think one of the most exciting things is challenging yourself to something that you don't know that you can do. And then it's
Mm.
like, all right, like let's find the limit. Like let's find where we can push ourselves to. And you sign up for something, and then it's like, sweet, like I didn't think I could do that. Or when I started doing this, like I didn't like when I started swimming for that 70.3, like I had swam as a kid and done like recreational swimming and but I hadn't swam any sort of long distance stuff. And it's like, damn, do I think I can swim, whatever, 1.2 miles? But like then when you push yourself and do that, I think that's cool for like, I think it's that way for traveling. Like we're booking traveling too and figuring out like transportation in other countries. Like Lex and I have done a lot of that, and it's always so cool. Like in the moment, the first time you're like stressed out, or it's weird, or you like don't know where you're going, and you don't understand stuff. Like in Thailand, it's like I can't read Thai, like. But then when you figure that stuff out, you like feel accomplished, and it's cool to like see it, and just I don't know, you kind of feel like you like grow in not only your experiences, but like your mental, I don't know, mental toughness, but like just your ability to like handle those kind of things. And I think that for whatever reason, that does a lot for me in terms of like my own mental state and like either self worth or just like, I don't know. I just think it's cool to like see that and grow in those kinds of things. I think it's super rewarding.
Oh no, man, I love it. I love it. One of the other questions I was going to ask you too, which is, and again, we can talk about it. We don't have to, my guy. So it's no stress at all. But I think one of the other things that's kind of unique just about your story, who you are as a person too, is just that relatively early in your life, you kind of undergo what for most people would be a pretty significant loss. And in regards to that
Yeah.
reality, do you have any thoughts about or is there anything about you as a person now that you look at and go like, I think in these ways it shaped me. I'm always curious because, for instance, I'll give you an example. My stepdad lost his mom when he was younger, and it changed so much about who he was and how driven he was and what he chose to do with his life. And in so many ways he's like, man, it's a thing, I wish never happened. But the other thing is I really think I made good use of it. Like I didn't let it define me, and I didn't let it like slow me down. If anything, I think I was able to really kind of transmute it into something that walked me forward in my life. And I know that that's different for everybody. I don't presume to know, but I am curious to know because I think uh, so many people, obviously everybody goes through this at some point. Just the tragedy is, the difficulty is the timing when you go through it. It can have such a different impact on you as a person. And so I'm just curious for you, if when you think about that, is there anything for you where you would go, you know what, having undergone this at this particular age or whatever, I really think this is how that worked on me, or what I do with that part of my story in my life.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess for then people who don't know, because obviously I don't know who's watching this, but when I was 16, when I was, yeah, 16 in high school, my dad committed suicide. So obviously that was like at the time, especially being 16, it's just like such a time where you're so like impressionable, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, or like moldable, but it's just a time where you're already searching for a lot of answers. And then when like with that happening in that time, like I don't know. I think at the time I obviously didn't understand the ways it would shape me. It was more just like a frustration thing, and like yeah, just feeling like I know I felt a lot of frustration for a long time of like the abandonment piece of it, because you're like, how could like a parent think that your life like as a high schooler is going to be better off without them? And then now like looking back, that's now obviously been 15 years, that like I don't know, it's been interesting because I feel like my perspective on it has changed over time, and it started with like a lot of frustration and anger, and then going into college maybe like went into like more of, I don't want that to like be a part of my life that's like defining who I am. And then now I think it's and I actually enjoy talking about it. One, I think like talking about it keeps the memory of him and like people that have been lost alive, but also two, like I think it's important in the sense of, for me, like obviously it's part of what made me who I am. And like, could I tell you exactly like how that shaped me? Like maybe not yet. But I also think that like the loss sucks and there's never a good time, but especially at that time, it also put like a lot of figures in my life into place, like mentors and people where they're people who I like really, really respect. And I like feel like I also really closely watch and am interested in with like parent kid, specifically like father son relationships with that, which has been like sick to watch you raise Huck. Because I remember like when I first met you, Huck was like brand new. He was like such a like, I mean, I want to say he was like a couple years, a year.
Like a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and now to watch him like now he's like his own person and like doing stuff and growing up. And I think that like watching, I mean, I obviously haven't got to see it all live, but like watching a lot of it through even social media or the stuff that you've sent, like it's so cool to me to watch those kind of relationships. And it makes me like think pretty deeply about like the kind of parent that I hope to be at some point. Um, but yeah, I think it's also like for sure made me I don't know. I think part of that has also, maybe that's part of where like the whole like, oh, you only get one life and one ability to live it and like one time to do these things. Like I think that that's put a lot of emphasis on that for me. Like, and I feel like I've seen in general just like quite a bit of loss, whether it's from friends or parents or my dad, I guess, and godmother and my brother-in-law, just like a lot of people I feel like that have like passed around me, that it has put in perspective so much, like one, the importance of like that you get one opportunity to live and to be around. So like being present and doing things that you care about like matter so much. But two, like such an emphasis on like mental health and your ability to like communicate your emotions and feelings. Cause I felt like for a long time, and not necessarily just like in my family, but growing up, like guys communicating their emotions wasn't like a big, not that it was necessarily frowned upon, but it just like wasn't a big thing that happened. Like that was
Sure.
something that was like, you don't, yeah, it just like it's not as open. And I think that being like communicating your emotions better, like the way that that really like leads to relationships and like the mental health side of that, I think has been huge. Yeah, just figuring out like communication in general with those things, like it's made me evaluate a lot like about my relationship with Lex and like how I want to interact in our relationship. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm still like still learning, you know, like it's not always perfect every day, but like how I want to be in like the relationships in my life, like the kind of person I want to be and the way I want to interact with those relationships. I feel like that's had a huge impact on a lot of that. Um, yeah, I mean, and it's still like there's still like I don't think it's one emotion at a time. Like there's still days where it's frustrating, like, you know, our wedding where I'm like, dang, this is a day that I would have like really loved for him to be there. So I think that those kind of things like still come and go. But also I'm like, I think I've become like I've gotten to the point now where I'm more okay with it. And not in the okay in the sense of like, oh, you're glad it happened, but just okay with like this is who I am. You don't get to choose like your story, but like you sure get to choose like what you're gonna do with it. And like God forbid if I become a victim of life or my story. It's like, yeah, we all get some things are good and some things are shitty. And like, I think you just make the best of like the life you get. And if you don't, like, I mean, not to sound harsh, but it's like, that's on you. Like, everyone has bad stuff that happens. But if you take that and you're like the victim of that, like if life, I like one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, oh, life happens to me. I'm like, yeah, life happens to everyone, man. Like, and if you are just like, oh, life happens to me, so I can't do this. No, that's not the way
Yeah.
it works. Like, life happens to everyone, and you get to choose what you want with that. And I'm like, that's something I'm like really passionate about like people who I don't want to say people, just like the victim mindset. I like can't get on board with it.
I think also too, man, it's cool to hear you say that, and I think it does come from a place where that is a heavy story. I know I have two people in my life, separate of you, who have this as a part of their childhood, and one with the dad, and actually both with dads. But it's one of those things that what you do with that, um, really really tough hand is really important, and what is so like I think for me always just is something I revere about you, man. It's one of the things I respect the absolute most is um how you continue to walk in such a sense of optimism, joy, possibility, love, humor, irreverence, just being a fucking goof, and then also too like really giving a shit about some things, and then trying your best at it. Whether that's your relationship, your friends, the hobbies you do, the job you do, even the way that you care for your family and your friends, and the way you try to show up and like, I really want to do this pilot thing. I'm going to bust my ass at this. And um, I think it just gives your words so much more weight when someone's like, oh, blah, blah, don't have a victim mentality. And it's like, well, there are, I would argue at some level, varying degrees of suffering. And I think the input from those particular people is sometimes more powerful. Like, sometimes you meet somebody and they'll say something like, like sometimes I'll be around someone that's like maybe a little more religious or something. They might say something like, God is good all the time. But the person is like, 30 and hasn't really had any sort of dynamic hardships. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
misfortune has hit them yet. But then if I like talk to my granny who's 103 and like grew up picking cotton and she's like, God is good. You're kind of like, carries
Yeah.
more weight. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something about it has a little more
Absolutely.
oomph, and so it's cool to hear your view on that, man, and it's cool to have you be so willing to share in that. Okay, so now one other thing that I'm super curious about, man, is break down married life for me, guy. Because now you've been in this now 2 years, and like, what is it? Well, what's working? What's challenging? What's the gift in it? What's the thing you feel like you're learning? You just mentioned that, and that's something that I'm always like. I was married. I've been divorced a long time, but it's something that I always hope to achieve again. I mean, as old as I am, Dougie, I would still have more kids. I don't like anything more than being a dad. But I always want to get this part right, and I feel like you did, even though you're early in the game. I think you picked really well. I think you guys are a great partnership, and so I'm curious to know where your head at is at with your marriage and like 2 years in, what do you think is the gifts? What do you think are the things you're still working and learning? What's something that surprised you? I don't know. Just kind of walk me through what this experience is like in life.
Um, yeah, I mean, first off, it's so much fun. Like, it is like so much fun that you're with this person who you've obviously chosen to be with, and they've chosen to be with you. Um, it definitely like there's everyone who's like, "Oh, marriage takes a lot of work," and we were like, "Why? It's fun. Like, I like hanging out with her. It's fun to be around. We get to like do fun stuff together all the time." It does take a lot of like work in the sense of uh just I think sometimes like your communication or something I've noticed is like if you have like I have days where, like if I don't have my best day or I feel off, it's hard sometimes to come home and to not let that like bleed into my interaction with Lex. Then I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated, but I'm like, it's not her fault. She had her own day, like with her own things that were hard. That's not her fault. And like, who am I to like suddenly then take that out? But then figuring out how to communicate that without like dumping that on the other person. I think that like that communication piece has been the thing that like I try to work on more, that I know that it's something I still can work on more. But like, I mean, I'm lucky in the sense of like Lex is like she's someone the same as me. Like I feel like she always like talks about like soaking things up. That's like her one of her things where she's like, I'm just trying to soak up every bit of it, which it's fun. She's someone who definitely like makes the most of life. Like she's such a go-getter in terms of like doing things and like adventuring and traveling. Like she's always wanting to travel and see new places and experience new things the same way too, which has been so much fun to have some like being married to someone who wants to do that with you, like makes me feel less crazy when I'm like, oh, I want to do this stuff. Like she wants to do it all too, which is fun to experience that together. Um, I mean, she's the same way. Like she's training for a marathon right now too. So she's like, she loves being outside and doing stuff and being as active. Like I think we both like being as active as each other. She's always also down to like push her comfort zones. Like so we went skydiving together one time too, and she like was down to do it and was stoked to do it and did it and had so much fun. And she was like, it was awesome. I had such a great time. I love that you love it so much. And like she's like, I did it and I'm good. Like I don't need to do this every weekend. But the fact of that she's like down to do this stuff, I was like, I
Yeah.
don't like you don't have to do it all the time. But she's yeah, it's cool in that sense. I think the communication, like it's just so easy to like and I mean, I guess I don't know what this is like for other people. I think it's so easy to like you get so caught up in your own life sometimes that that feels like the most important thing going on. And then I just have to like take steps back, whether it's work or whether it's like flight training or whether it's race training. Like, dude, she was so patient with me this last summer, like signing up for 4 races. Like,
I
I
was
was
about to
biking
say,
all the
bro,
time,
that
and if
is
I
a
wasn't
fucking
biking, oh, dude, if I wasn't biking, I was running, and if I wasn't running, I was swimming. And she was like, "Yeah, dude, let me know if you ever want to hang out again." Like, she was truly so patient with me with that, which God bless her.
yeah.
And it got to the end of summer, and I was like, this was fun, but this was too much. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be my whole life all the time. And she was truly patient with me with that. So I don't know. I think it's fun though. Like, it just have to like put things into perspective about like what's important. Because the days where I'll
Sure.
like get so caught up in whatever I'm doing, and then it's like none of this shit is more important than Lex's. And then it's like that. I think when I get so caught up in that, then I'm like, all right, like that's got to be like your first priority. And I think that's like a good reminder sometimes. And I think the times like it always feels like if we get caught up in doing all this stuff, sometimes when we'll leave and go camping or like travel, just when you're like away from the rest of your life in the world, it like puts it in perspective for you because it's like I've been on my phone less, I'm caught up in everything else less, but I've like just got to be around her for like a prolonged period of time, and then it like puts in perspective, and you go, like, I don't know what I'm so worried about with everything else. Like this is way more important than any race or any work or anything else I'm doing. So it puts that in like a good perspective. But yeah, just like realizing that your life isn't the most important thing and like
Yeah.
balancing that and from both sides, obviously like I'm working on that from my side. But like her from her side and us like figuring that out. Like we both also like for sure have strong personalities and are like stubborn with things. And I
Yeah.
think like over that first year of marriage, like that was definitely something where it was like uh realizing like the sacrifice of like, hey, like me being stubborn is not worth that. For like it's just like yeah, you just I just will catch myself and I'll laugh at myself. Like I'm like, if I put myself in her shoes looking at me, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like you just gotta like think about it from that perspective. But
Sure.
realistically, like overall marriage has truly been like it's been so much fun. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. And Lex is great. And she is I feel incredibly lucky like to be with her.
I love that, man. I'm so happy to hear that. I think it's really cool to hear the way that you guys are able to share in one another's passions and stuff. And I think you definitely are right that like, communication is so tricky. I don't know if you know who the Gottmans are, but they talk about that all the time that like communication is really like compatibility isn't even when we study it, it's not even all
Yeah.
that relevant. It is the capacity to like meaningfully communicate and see the other person. And I think, like you said, like it's so easy to get caught up like in your life, in your hobbies, and all these other things that you want to do with your life and forget that, like, hey, man, like this person has such a vital importance to my life. And that really, we got to find a way to hold them at the center and make sure that all the other things I'm doing are in a collaboration with that human being. And I think it's so cool to just even know in yourself. I think that should give you tremendous confidence that, like, it was fun fucking ripping it in the summer at 100 miles an hour, but also like it was super smart of you and a really good character trait to go, time out, dude. I think I might have fucking gotten a little too full tilt on this one. like maybe I needed to just
Yeah.
slow
Just a
up a
little.
fucking hair here. But it's so good. And honestly, like it's just also cool to hear, like, I love hearing that she also has her own things too that like you also support. And I love that like concept of just mutual support in who one another is, because it's really cool to feel like, in the successful relationships in my life, I just resonate with that sense that like those relationships almost always had that sense of like mutual excitement and support for where one another was going, like just recognizing like we're all different, we're all individuals. And so like what I love, like, like she said, she went and skydived with you, and then Lex was like, I'm good. That was sick, but I might be all right,
Yeah.
like doing that again, and it's cool to like be like, yeah, but she showed up and like saw you and came and did your thing and really collaborated with you. And it's also cool that when she's doing a marathon, you're like, oh, I got you, like do your thing, like rip it, and I want that to be a success. It's just that level of mutual care and consideration is such a cool thing, because then should the time come when you have a kid, uh, being a child in a home where, like, I didn't grow up like that, but I wished I could create that environment where, like, there was that sense of mutual support. You know what I mean? I would imagine it's such a like lovely thing to watch your mom and pop figure out how to like get each other's backs and to really see that as like one of the defining characteristics of love. I always tell like my friends, I'm like, for me, bro, love is about you ought to have an interest in the other person's greatest possible experience of their life. And like that is the mark of like, oh, how I give a shit about you, because whatever is going to be the best thing for your life, I'm gonna fucking be there to support it. And it's cool to hear that that's happening for you, my man. I fucking love that.
Yeah. I appreciate it, one, but two, yeah, it's just like you just want the other person to like succeed, whether it's in work or races or whatever they choose to do, like and wanting to do that. And like couldn't agree more. Like obviously not having my dad there for a lot of my childhood, it's like that's something that someday, like should kids be in the picture, hopefully, that like I want them to know that like I love their mom or Lex, like not because I tell them, but I like want them to be able to see that and like know that.
One of the other things I was curious about, bro, if you got the time to talk about it, is what is like right now, just something that I'm always curious about with people. Like, what's something in life right now that feels like, give me a few things that you're like, I'm really excited about this, like something you've seen, watched, ate, heard, something you've been thinking about, something just happening in your life, whatever. And then give me something you're like, this is kind of a challenge. Have you ever heard of this thing called rosebud thorn? Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard like I've called it like peach and pit,
Peach.
peach and pit, where it's like the good and the
fuck,
bad.
I fuck with Peach and Pit, bro. So like,
Yeah.
so let's just like give me something that's a peach and something that's a pit right now, man.
Right now, I mean, there's like multiple things to be excited about. Um, I would say, well, like From
You
a
can give me more than one, bro. If you're like, oh, there's multiple things, like you can give me more than one.
Well, one flying, I think like making, so I'm working on like my instrument rating right now, which, so you have your private license and then your instrument rating is where you're flying just based off the instrument. So you can fly in like the clouds and bad weather. So I think that like when you're working on these ratings, like the beginning half of them is such a grind because it feels like you're so far away. And then like I'm getting to the end of it. So I think that like tying out that when you finish a rating, like is it's such a good feeling. Like you feel like you're actually making progress.
Mm.
So I think that that is sweet. That's something that like, it's one of those things where you go, okay, this is worth it. Like I'm actually headed in the right direction. It's super encouraging. So
Cool.
I would say that that is a big peach. Um, and then like the like getting into like winter activities. I mean, dude, it's been such a mild winter, but we're going to Tahoe next month, and we're gonna go ski at North Star and I think Heavenly. So to get like some good, I'm like, stoked for. I love skiing, so like getting out and doing some winter activities that like make, you get through the holidays and then you hit like the second week of January and that like January, February, March, like is such a blah. It's kind of like a just a blah time, like weather wise, typically not a lot going on. Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that that a lot of times is like kind of a grind. So to have something fun to look forward to in that, I'm like really looking forward to that.
Cool.
Um, a pit, something that's a grind. I think, I mean, on the other side of the same coin, like these months, so through the those parts of the year, the short days, I feel like it's a time where like it's just a lot. You don't find like the same joy from being outside like in the summer. I feel like that's kind of a grind. And then in that stretch, like the end of December through March, is when like that was when my dad committed suicide. Uh, Lex's brother um passed away in that same like stretch of time. So I think it's like it feels like a stretch of time where it's like a heavier time of year
It's heavy.
getting
Yeah.
through that, and then combined with the weather and then you mix that in. I feel like that can be like sometimes like if you are busy and doing stuff you don't think about it as much, but then sometimes you feel like it really weighs on you. So I think that that's like definitely a grind in that time, and like more of a, I don't know if grind is the right word, but just like one like kind of like a cloud that looms a little bit more, like just looms a little heavier during that time of year than like you when you're in the summer and the outdoor months.
Totally. Yeah, it's more present, and like you said, you don't have
But yeah,
as many things or as many distractions that would maybe pull you out of that particular state. So I could see that's the case.
yeah, that's a big thing, not having the distractions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then real quick before we go, man, like, if just because I'm curious, like, so where are you at in the flight process? Like, yeah, are we talking 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, a year? Where are you at, kind of before you get to what you feel like is maybe the first big benchmark that you're shooting for?
It's just one of those ones where like looking at it from like a 2 to 3 year perspective sometimes is like too much, where it's just, hey, I'm gonna take one flight at a time. Like I got a flight lesson this afternoon where I'm gonna go, it's like over flight planning, and it's like let's just take one lesson at a time. I got a flight today or lesson today and a flight tomorrow, and like that's all you can look at it as, and just like chipping away. Like you can't look at the whole
Yeah,
thing. I've never set like a 5 year ish, 4 years. I've never set like a 4 year goal in my life if you exclude college. Like,
never
and
had
I
a
don't think
long
that really
term
counts because
plan.
I certainly didn't have a goal. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think that like yeah,
yeah,
setting like a 4 year goal I think is cool in the sense of like it's a thing to work on, and like it's a just a mental test in a different way, not a physical one. But like it's
sure.
cool to work towards that, but it definitely feels like quite a grind. And like I don't know, I like look up to Lex and the fact that like she graduated, went to PT school, and that's like a 3.5 year goal. And
Yeah,
like
dude.
I'm like, dang, she grinded and grinded through the whole thing, like, and she did that where I was like, yeah, I just got to do that, like follow her blueprint where it's like, hey, just one day at a time, one thing at a time, one test at a
Yeah,
time,
bro.
and grind your way through it, because otherwise I'm like, fuck, that's a long ways.
Yeah, yeah, dude, it could steal your motivation. I usually say that too when we get like on a job or something. We have a bunch of shit we got to do. I always beg, dude, how do you eat an elephant, dude? One bite at a time, baby. You just gotta
One
focus
bite
on
at a
that
time.
next bite. Yeah, and just like it, let the game come to you a little bit on that, and just kind of, I mean, in big adventures like that, big goals, I feel like consistency is really your friend more than intensity. And so I think it's so easy to just be like, yeah, bro,
Yeah.
like we're gonna fucking, whatever. And it's like, on the big things, it's just like, bro, you got to get it in a little bit a day at a time. Try to just pace yourself, so that way you keep your motivation high. And I think you're doing the smart thing, bro, which is what I try to do, which is just like try to jam in some other things that you care about, so that way you don't just farm your happiness out to whenever you can achieve this. So it's like I'm basically miserable for the next 4 or 5 years till I fucking get to this mystical place where I can finally fly the way I want. It's like, bro, it's a great way to be
Yeah.
unhappy. It's like, it's like, maybe give yourself some other things
Yeah.
in your
That's the
life that you
fastest way to be
like.
unhappy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It can
Yeah.
be the fastest way.
And like
So,
I think that you can't like live or die by a flight. Like if you have a great flight, you like, damn, I'm a good pilot. And then if you have a bad flight, you're like, damn, I don't know if this shit's for me. But it's like you just can't like live or die by the highs and lows. And I like laugh. Have you seen that? There's like a snippet of Theo Vaughn, and he's like, yeah, people always tell me like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. He's like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll be there every day. Like it's just one
yeah.
of those where that's what you got to show him. You're just like, damn, yeah, maybe I'm bad, but I'll be there every day.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really like the dirty little secret of anyone who looks like they know what the fuck they're doing is like is it looks like, oh, they must have
Yeah.
just been, you're with probably some flight instructor or someone who's just like an ace, and you're kind of like, fuck, dude, that guy, it just feels like maybe they were born with that ability or that knowledge or that skill because they make it look easy, you know what I mean? It'd be the same thing if you went to go play basketball with Michael Jordan. You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh shit, dude, this guy was fucking born. Little do you know, he gets cut from his team. He didn't fucking have the skills. And literally all it
Yeah.
was he just showed up every day and one bite at a time ended up becoming such a monster. And I think that those kinds of stories and that recognition really gives, hopefully to some, I think for me it does, it always gives me a sense of like encouragement that like, you can pretty much dream as big as you want as long as you're willing to work as hard as you can, and doing so in an intelligent way. And I think that recognition of like, oh, I could be that dude. It might take me some time, and it may even take me more time than this particular person. They might be, more talented or some shit, but like I'm just gonna show up every day and just do what I can do. And like I gotta trust that. I mean, really, like I would tell anyone, that's probably how you've done anything your whole fucking life. It's like how you learn to skydive or ski or whatever. It's like you just got to do like a little bit at a time, and then it's like when you realize that, you're like, oh yeah, okay. If you want to fucking be like a particle physicist, nigga, you better fucking be talented. But like if you're just like a regular dude trying to do regular shit, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, you can chip that away little by little. So that's super cool, man. I'm really glad to hear that, bro. I'm so excited for you, man. I really like, I hope it's everything. And is the long-term goal to like actually fly commercial liners, like commercial jets and stuff?
That's what I mean, yes, right now that's probably like what I'm looking at, but also I think it's become one of those things where the more I've got into it and you realize how many different routes you can go, you could end up like I could fly a plane for like smoke jumpers, I could fly like a private charter plane, like you'd end up with the commercial airlines. Like there's so many great routes you can go with it where I've kind of gotten to the point where I go, all right, well, I'm not really going to set an end goal. Like I'm not going to cap where this is going to go. I'm just going to
Cool.
keep working, like building one block at a time. And when I get to the point where I need to decide that stuff, I can look into it with like more knowledge and more skills. But until then, like I don't have to choose where I'm going right now. Like right now, I just need to show up for this flight lesson this afternoon, and I'll be fine.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it, man. That's so dope. Well, dude, just want you to hear me say, man, like, I love you. Thanks so much for coming on and like spending some time with me, man. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, dude, just like such a thoughtful, funny fucking dude, such a good guy, man. I'm so excited for everything that's going well in your life, man. I'm so happy things with you and Lex are great. I'm wishing you so much good luck on this long ass run you got. But when you come up to town, bro,
Yeah, I'm gonna
um,
need that. But
yeah. Um, but when you come up to town in Winthrop, man, I hope that you drop me a line, bro. Would love to have you in person, bro. Jump back on the podcast, and also just to like grab a beer and fuck around if you're in town for more than a few days. Um, but yeah,
dude, I would love to. One, I love you too. I appreciate it. I mean, you're someone I respect a ton. Like, I don't think that that's a mystery. So, any chance that I get the chance to like kick it with you, be on the podcast, see you guys, and hang out, like I'm in, and I always appreciate it. Love seeing the updates with you and Huck and your life and everything you're doing. So, I'm I'm in. I love it, man.
well, thanks, dude, and always know, man. Should you ever need anything, this isn't really tied to the podcast. It's just me talking to you, man. But anything you should you ever need anything, bro, always reach out anytime, anytime. And
Yeah,
and separate to that,
same to
so
you,
when
man. You
we,
know that.
what'd you say?
I said same to you. Yeah, ever.
Oh. Yeah. Well, thanks, my man. I really appreciate it. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on. And I'm real excited to see how people react to it. I think so many of my friends and so many people will connect with what you had to say. And yeah, dude, it was a great time, bro. It was good to see you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to see you too.